The Open Games license was a mistake since its very inception, and has done irreparable damage to the tabletop role-playing game industry. It created a web of codependency that made Dungeons and Dragons the focal point of the hobby, and it has flooded the market with too many competitors over a limited market share. Now, the advent of easy self-publishing tools on the internet would have seen an expansion of available role-playing game products, in all likelihood, but without the OGL in place, it would have had a stronger limiting factor, in that all the indie games and supplements would have had to possess their own unique rules systems and settings. This is not to say that there are no definite benefits that could be easily gained by being permitted to piggyback on top of a major brand name's success and lineage. It was a neat idea, and did play some role in keeping the hobby going during the dark ages at the very beginning of this century, when the hobby seemed all but extinct at the hands of video games and MMORPGs. But the OGL was always a ticking time bomb. Eventually, inevitably, at some point, some new CEO would come around and not give a damn about the people or intentions behind the OGL. Because they will, somewhat, falsely believe that all these indie products are detracting from their own sales. Hasbro invented buying WotC. Who invented buying D&D from TSR? They have a right to that money. At some point, no matter what, someone was going to come around and seek an end to the OGL and the indie 5e scene. Throw in a healthy dash of brand recognition egotism, which has been inflated by the modern investment scheming around brand value, which allows shareholders of companies who own famous brands to make money off them, even if the current productions of said branding are not actually profitable, and then blend in the age-old drive of marketeers to constantly chase the youth demographic, making the older, more stable, and long-term fans of their brands seem like dead-weight baggage that is limiting their ability to attract the youth demographics who haven't formed brand loyalties yet. Corporations run by success-driven maniacs who think working 120 hours a week is an accomplishment, especially when said work is in an office or on the phone. They ain't exactly digging ditches. Unless they happen to have been a geek when they were a kid, are not going to understand the difference between a tabletop game and a video game, and all they know is that video games are raking in buku cash with microtransactions. So what if we could make D&D more like Fortnite? An unexpected brand relaunch of an already successful and popular brand is staged to correct the mistake of allowing fan-made products to be sold with no kickback to the IP holder, and then rake in even more cash by making everyone repurchase the same old core rulebooks again, cancel the OGL, slap Chris Pine in a movie, and chase off the olds by calling them bigoted rapists in waiting, because their marketing department had assured them that an army of young gay 12 to 24-year-old people of colors are just hankering for a chance to play D&D, if only there was room for them. Unfortunately for them, their timing with the OGL news was terrible. As it turns out, the young gay 12 to 24-year-old activist crowd is not terribly impressed with displays of corporate greed and overreach, and taking the OGL away to replace it with a version where you suddenly owe WotC money if anyone bothers to buy your 5e adventure module, enough to actually make some money off of it, well, that seems an awful lot like taking away a right that people were accustomed to having. And as it turns out, neither the youth activists or the old stupid olds who are old and stupid react very well when they feel like their rights are being taken away. Now they have killed all their forward momentum. Their movie flopped by modern flop standards, despite being not half bad, and featuring America's boyfriend, Chris Pine. Baldur's Gate 3 popped, but in many ways it did so because it was providing a more transgressive and adult-minded D&D than Hasbro wants to do with the books, which are increasingly aimed at children. Speaking of books, the new core books have been received like a wet fart. At best, the reactions have been akin to someone politely trying to ignore the stink. I haven't heard anyone talk about virtual tabletop or AI dungeon masters in quite some time, but I don't see what the problem is. What? Are the LLMs not turning out to be the magic bullet to remove game masters from the equation so that the players can finally be monetized? Don't they trust Grok to be a DM? Who doesn't want to play a game being run by Mecha Hitler? Now Critical Role is pimping out their own game. Here and there, a few other games show some meager success. People seem to have taken to Shadow Dark, and the Cyberpunk IP has seemingly jumped itself into becoming a multimedia brand. How many D&D socks and owlbear snuggies has Hasbro been selling lately, I wonder? But it's harder than it should be, because the ghost of the OGL and D&D rules compatibility still hangs heavy over the tabletop hobby. In the short time it has been out, I've seen more videos purporting to complain about Daggerheart's, what a fucking original name, by the way, version of its own OGL, than any whose subject is the actual rules and systems of this game. Something that Shadow Dark has done a better job at capitalizing on, but I remain a lone voice in the wilderness, saying that the OGLs are more harmful than good in the long run. The very first RPG book I wrote was Orc and Bone. It was a prototype in more than a few ways, and at the end I found I did not like having to include the OGL text at the end of the book. It felt like an admission of having to cheat. Here's a remix of other people's work. It didn't sit well with my own ego, and so I wrote over 36 books using a rule system of my own devising afterwards. And oh, the whiny complaints I hear from time to time because of it, from people who are timid about any rule set that they are not familiar with ahead of time, another result of the OGL's influence on the culture of the hobby. Ignoring the other strange bits of snobbery one encounters amongst nerds, the trepidation over new rule systems seems foreign to someone who got into gaming well over a decade before the OGL was created, back when D&D was a dying brand, but other game titles were flying off shelves, back when we had shelves. Anyway, Orc and Bone is clunky, and after writing 71 other books, with my own rules, which have been refined over several iterations, I feel ready to come back to Orc and Bone, and finally write the long-promised sequel, Blood and Gnome, which you can see before you now. I market it as an OSR game, and I did build it on top of the skeleton of classic D&D rules. Roll a d20 to hit points, races and classes, in a format that is seamless with D&D's adventure and world design principles, but changed in enough significant ways that the OGL is not applicable. So, though it is a sequel to a campaign-setting sourcebook, it is a full all-in-one rulebook, with a wealth of information on the Blood and Gnome post-human world, complete rules descriptions, far more detailed than any of the books I have written using the total party system, tons of random tables for encounters and map exploration, spells, monsters, magic items, the whole kit and caboodle, as they say in France. 480 pages long, next to no artwork. This book is for you literate people. You'll have to figure out what vampires and gnomes look like on your own, somehow. I'm sure you have it in you. If you possess the mental fortitude to handle such things, Blood and Gnome is now available in print via Amazon.com, or you can get the PDF at a discounted price on DriveThruRPG. Now keep in mind, I have quite a few ideas for supplements and adventure series to go with Blood and Gnome, with maps already worked out for 3 of them, but I'm not going to write them up until I see some better sales on the core rulebook. I know the economy is shit, and that it's the middle of summer, and your kids need money. There's all the conventions to attend, and you already have games with super imaginative names like Daggerheart and Shadow Dark to invest in. Why buy Blood and Gnome? Because, in many ways, Blood and Gnome takes the OSR formula and stands it on its head. It doesn't recreate the rules from one of the box sets from the 70s or 80s. It has no playable humans, but features stats for 10 playable non-human races and 18 classes to choose from. It takes classic, cheerful, and mirthful races and throws them into a setting themed around the literal horrors of war and oppression and the dark legacy of a vanished human race. It has things to say if you want to find them, all the while set in a world that seems super familiar, with game rules that you will understand immediately. New and old, legacy and change. Or I can go back to writing books for Girls Gone Vampire, which actually sells. Only time will tell, I suppose. Links provided below, and until next time, stay waspinated.
SAFETY. Safe dance. We can dance.
dance if you want to. We can leave your friends behind. Because your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, they're no friends of mine. I say, we can go where we want to. A place where they'll never find. And we can act like we come from out of this world. Leave the real one far behind. And we can dance. We can go where we want to. The night is young and so am I. And we can dress real neat from our hats to our feet and surprise them with a victory cry. I say, we can act if we want to, and if we don't, nobody will. And you can act real rude and totally removed, and I can act like an imbecile. I say we can dance. We can dance. Everything is out of control. We can dance. We can dance. We're doing it from pole to pole. We can dance. We can dance. Everybody look at your hands. We can dance. We can dance. Everybody's taking the chance. 'Cause it's safe to dance. Well, it's safe to dance. Yes, it's safe to dance. We can dance if we want to. We've got all your life in mind. As long as we abuse it, we're never going to lose it. Everything will work out right. I say we can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind. Because your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, they're no friends of mine. I say we can dance. We can dance. Everything is out of control. We can dance. We can dance. We're doing it from pole to pole. We can dance. We can dance. Everybody look at your hands. We can dance. We can dance. Everybody's taking the chance. Well, it's safe to dance.
Yeah,
Ah, yes, it's safe to dance.
yeah,
Oh, well, it's safe to dance.
yeah,
Oh, well, it's safe to dance.
yeah,
Oh, yes, it's safe to dance.
yeah.
Oh, it's safe to dance, yeah. Well, it's safe to dance. It's a safety dance. Oh, 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 it's a safety dance.